Welcome to the Multi-Orgasmic Mama podcast, where sexual taboos are broken. I'm Tilly Storm, holistic sex coach and jade egg and tantric sex teacher. I work with luxury lovers, teaching them the art of better sacred sex by helping them remove all their blocks to pleasure, turn on confidence and connection, so they can step into their fullest potential and power as humans and alchemists in the 3D. If you'd like to learn how to release shame and guilt destroying your sex life so you can feel fully sexually liberated and free, you can access my How to Release Shame and Guilt training at www.tillystorm.com/shame. This episode is brought to you by the Sensually Embodied Woman Collective. If you're ready to remove all your blocks to pleasure, turn on and feeling confident and sexy in your body through my paid programs and offerings, then head to www.tillystorm.com today. Hey there, my loves, it's Tilly. And today's episode, all about money, about worthiness, about investing in yourself. This is an episode that I have struggled with feeling like a fraud putting out there. Being completely, totally honest with you, because this is money is not something that I have always been good at. That's for damn sure. Money is something that I really struggled with making money in my early adulthood, that I got pregnant and had babies very young. Well, I guess not that young, but 23, and I had my second when I was 26. And I've always, that's always been my focus, and finding a career path and something that really lit me up and something that I really wanted to do. I know that that's part of my journey, but finding my thing in this world, I knew that I had to find it, that I was not willing to settle for anything less. I'm just a person who lives by my passion, by purpose, and, settling for some city planning job, which is what I did before, I went into this. And, well, there was intermediary things that I did as well, like working as a midwife and a doula in a birth center, but the career path that I wanted needed to feel like it was completely purpose-driven. And finding how to do that coming from a family who taught me nothing but go to school, get a good job, it was very challenging. I did not have the blueprint of entrepreneurship. I did not have the blueprint of making money in any other way than going to school and getting a good job, which I did not get. I got paid $33,000 a year as a city planner, and I had a master's degree. And because of how they treated me with having babies, I ended up getting fired, actually, because I breastfed my kid. Yes, I got walked in by my boss when I was pumping breast milk for my 9-month-old baby. And he had a hissy fit about it, took it to HR, who reprimanded me and told me that I needed to go pump breast milk in the bathroom. And they also told me that I needed to wear red lipstick to work. I quote you on that one. They said, "You need to wear red lipstick." So to be in integrity with my soul and my purpose, I didn't even give them a chance to make any adjustments. It was just like, I'm not going to do that. So they fired me. And I was like, okay, great. I guess that's a sign that I get to start on my path and find my own journey to finding my true purpose in this life. So the one thing that really lit me up at the time was birth work. I had had a free birth with my first baby, completely unassisted, no midwife, at my home. And then with my second one, I had had a hospital birth because he was premature. He was born at 34 weeks and 5 days. Actually, I got off of a plane and my water broke about 2 hours later when I was 34 weeks and 3 days pregnant. And I knew that I would end up having him very soon. That birth experience was, I've talked about it here on the podcast before, but it was just as empowering as the first one. Had a completely drug-free, natural, completely empowered birth experience, even in a hospital setting. So I went into birth work because that was something I was passionate about. And that birth work led me to sexuality work because I noticed after these mamas were having their babies, how they were disconnected from their body, from their pleasure. But even when they were having the babies, how disconnected from their body and their own intuition and inner wisdom they were. And it was a passion of mine to go into how could I help them through this. And that's what got me into sexuality work. Anyway, back to money. When I was a birth doula and working as a midwife apprentice in a birth center, I made $20,000 a year at best. I did that for 7 years. And I had, at the time I was married and I had a husband that made decent money. And it was like, no matter what we did, it was never enough money. Nothing was ever enough. So I really, really struggled with money for a really long time, no matter how much I made. And that's what I want to go into today is how do you invest in yourself? How do you decide that I am going to take a chance on me and I'm going to make this scary investment in myself and my own healing and my own soul's journey, even when my bank account doesn't agree with that step? Because let me tell you, babes, I made some very, very, very bold and scary ass decisions. And I promise you, making those scary ass decisions are the only reason why I am where I am today and running a multiple six-figure business. So I want to inspire you and hope to show you how the truth about money is not what you think. All right. So yes, we're diving into the number one issue that keeps people from taking part in the powerful work of integrating and healing their sexuality, which is money. If you've talked with us and if you have ever done the pleasure assessment and spoken with myself or our pleasure assessment queen, Jennifer, and inquired about our programs, we're not cheap to work with. And that's for a reason. That's because you get to level up. We require you to level up to work with us. And because my work is so much more valuable than what I do charge for some things. And I am completely aware of it. But because we have a team and I have support, I'm able to give it to you at a lower cost than it actually is worth. And you know why I find that it's worth so much more? Because I paid $55,000 for a divorce and a custody battle because of our lack of intimacy and connection and the sex that I really wanted to be having. So when you sit here and tell me that this isn't worth paying several $1,000s or a couple $10,000 or even $100,000 to work with me, I will laugh in your face. I will, because I know how much it's worth. It is worth everything. Okay, when this is the number one issue in your life, and you know that if you could just solve this one thing, figure out this one thing, and it's not even about figuring it out, right? Then so many other things can fall into place, and you don't end up having to go through a $55,000 divorce and custody battle. So, what I have found is that it's never about the money. It's actually about worthiness. I know you're probably thinking, yeah, whatever, Tilly, it's always about the money. And I will tell you, I get it. The stories that we create about money and abundance and even safety are very, very convincing, my friend. Your logical thinking mind going, no, but look, my bank account says so. There's really not enough. You may be wondering, safety? No. Safety comes from locking your doors at night. It comes from having a gun in your house and having a strong body to defend an attacker. What if I told you that actually it doesn't? That money doesn't come from what's in your bank account, your savings account, or your investment portfolio. And safety doesn't come from having doors locked, guns in your house, or a strong body to defend yourself with. What do you say to that? I get it. Your mind is probably spinning. But money doesn't actually come from working hard or family inheritance or whatever else you are thinking. Safety doesn't come from doing all of those things. It comes from inside of you. It comes from the vibration that you are carrying inside of you. What are you a vibrational match to is what you will get. If you do not feel worthy of receiving more money, of investing in yourself, or doing any of these things, then you won't. And you won't find the money, and you won't do the things necessary to get where you want to go. Now, I know immediately you're probably thinking, but what about little kids born in poverty and people in third world countries that have to walk miles just to get fresh drinking water every day? What about? There are so many very, very, very convincing scenarios that affirm our belief that money is finite and that it comes from something outside of ourselves. Same with safety. But what I'm here to show you today is that money is all about your ability to receive abundance, the relationship that you have with money itself, and if you're able to receive from that relationship, which most of us do not know how to do. And I hear the thoughts going through your head already, but how can a baby not know how to receive in its perfect divine innocence? And what about equality and how our financial system is set up so most people remain impoverished and poor? It's really because we're not taxing the rich enough. Well, I understand how you could draw such conclusions. I once believed those things too and tried to convince myself that they were actually real, but they really are an illusion. And what I want to offer you is a different point of view. Who is to say that anyone's experience of lack or scarcity isn't exactly what they chose to experience? Who's to say that anyone's experience of lack or scarcity isn't bad or wrong at all? What if it is just what it is? Because that's what that person chose in the divine perfection of their experience of life. What if poverty is exactly the thing they need to experience for their soul's growth, their soul's expansion, their own soul's evolution? Who are you to judge that person's situation? Who in their right mind would choose lack and poverty? Well, my love, a lot of us, actually. Why? Because lack and scarcity, poverty, or lack of abundance, whatever, is one of our greatest teachers. If it weren't for lack being the impetus for some souls to grow and evolve out of scarcity, how would you ever grow and evolve? Let me tell you a little story, my loves. A story about how lack has been one of the most powerful partners in my soul's journey to help me grow and evolve in the past 4 years. Without lack and scarcity, I would not be who I am today. I would never have found my purpose. I would never have helped so many people overcome and heal issues in their sexuality and their relationships. Without lack and scarcity, I would not be having the impact that I am having on people's lives today. Without lack and scarcity, I would not be living here in Costa Rica, hosting our first retreat in January, sending my kids to a private school, having private homeschool education. Without all the BS going on in the schools in the States, without lack and scarcity, I wouldn't have ever known my strength, my warrior spirit. So how could I ever condemn lack and scarcity? How could I ever judge it? How could I ever blame it? If it's brought me all that I have wanted and desired, why would I ever blame it, judge it, try to get rid of it, tell it that it didn't have a place in this world? And that, my friends, the way that I've chosen to relate to lack and scarcity, to love on it, to be grateful for it, to welcome it, is exactly why I have overcome it. As you know, or maybe you don't, but if you're new listening to the podcast, when I started this business, I had $2,000 to my name. I had just gotten divorced and sold my house. And I had $2,000, and which is, the profit that I got from a house because we had just bought it not too long before we ended up having to sell it. And with that $2,000, I ended up moving to a different city with my boys, and I had no idea how we were going to survive or make it. I didn't have a way to provide myself other than my coaching abilities. I had just finished my coaching training in sex, love, relationship coaching, tantric sex, and the jade egg practices and men's sexuality. And I had not had any paying clients yet. So I knew that it was either hell or high water, right? Like I had to make this work or I would end up living with my parents, which to me was not even an option. It did not even really cross my mind like, oh my God, I have to go live with them. I was so hellbound and determined to make it work. And I did. I don't know how I did. I had the grace of a friend who loaned me $2,000. Thank you, Barry. My beautiful friend, Barry, who came in and swooped in and loaned me $2,000 extra other than the $2,000 I had, because to get an apartment, I needed, first month rent and a deposit, right? So I didn't even have money to get an apartment. She loaned me the money to get an apartment and I paid her back like a year or two later. But thankfully I had a friend that was able to do that for me and get on my 2 feet and figure out how to make this business work. And I did. And it was scary as hell. I would go to bed at night wondering, oh my God, how am I even going to pay for rent tomorrow? I have no idea. I have 2 kids to feed, and somehow I was still able to continue investing in myself. It was, several months later that I got my first business coach. I paid $8,000 for my first business coach, and I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. But I did, and I took a leap of faith. I did not have a credit card. My credit was absolutely trashed. I had, went through the divorce, whatever. We had ended up living a year basically off of a credit card because he had lost his job and I didn't have a way to make decent money, and we had 4 kids together. So we were highly, highly in debt, and I had just went out on my own. I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. So no credit cards, no savings, no investments. It was cash only. Whatever I can make now was all I had. And every single month it happened. It came through. I had so much faith. I believed that this is what I was here to do with my life, and that my ancestors, my guides, my teachers, the angels, that they supported me in doing this. And every single month I would surprise and be delighted by the miracles that would show up. I don't know how I went through that. It was absolutely terrifying those first several months, but I did, and it worked out. And here we are, like almost 4 years later, and everything is totally awesome. So what it comes down to is this: how do you relate to lack and scarcity? Do you push it away, shove it in a dark room with all the other fears, worries, or concerns? Do you know what happens when you do that? This is what most people do. They experience lack, scarcity, lack of safety, whatever, lack of money, all the things. And they don't want to look at it. So they put it in a closet and say, no, we're not going to look at that. Well, what happens when you do that? Everyone in that dark room starts scratching at the door, starts knocking and banging. Hey, listen, I have something to say. I need help. They want something. They want someone to come tell them that it's okay, that they're going to be okay. That is your inner little girl, your inner little boy screaming for help, screaming, saying, hey, I need comfort. Someone to come and love on that inner little boy or girl that's scared, that's worried that they're not going to be taken care of, that they're not going to be provided for, that they're not going to have what they need. And if you keep the door locked and shoved away, the voices just get louder and louder, and you only confirm the reality of the lack and the scarcity. Chances are, if you grew up with a lack and scarcity, then you're going to continue to live in lack and scarcity until you approach this inner little boy or girl and give it space, make friends with it, give it the love, the support that they're crying out for. This is why people continue to stay in old patterns and never change. This is why you don't feel worthy of investing in yourself, because you have a scared little inner boy or girl that says if you invest in yourself, everything is going to come crashing down. If you actually feel worthy of this, then someone else has to suffer. If you actually invest in yourself, you're taking away from your kids. All of those are just lies stories, perceptions that your inner little boy or girl adopted because that's what your parents did. Is that your truth too? Is it really your present moment truth though? Do you really think that if you were to invest several thousand or 10 or 20 or 30 or 40, $50,000 in yourself, that if you did that, someone else would suffer? Well, my friends, you are confirming that abundance is finite, that it's limited, that there's not enough for everyone to go around. That's a story you're continuing to perpetuate. So if that's the story you're living, how do you change it? You change it by relating to that inner little boy or girl that feels that it's not safe to invest in ourselves. We can't do that. We're not worthy of that. That everyone else is going to suffer if we do that, or whatever it is, the story that you have going on in your head. I knew that as far as my business was concerned, that if I invested in my business, if I invested in myself, that was really the only option I had, right? I couldn't invest in other things. I had to invest in me. I had to invest in my business because that's what would be best for my children, is if they had a mom that was thriving in business, if they had a mom living her soul's purpose, that they would benefit from that. What if your kids benefited from you doing your own sexuality work, going through an entire transformational journey? What if your kids benefited from you being initiated into sacred sexuality practices where you shifted and changed the dynamic of your relationship in such a big way that your kids took that on and saw that shift and change? Maybe they're really little, but if they're older, maybe they noticed and witnessed the change going on and it completely impacted their life in a positive way. What if your investment in yourself is the best investment you could have ever made for your children? Wow. And if you don't have kids, whatever other purpose you have, what if that investment you made in yourself to do sexuality work, to do healing work, were the best thing you could have ever done for your career? What if the confidence you gained completely shifted how you showed up there? The second thing that this all comes down to is, does the inner adult, the queen version of yourself or the king version, the empress, the higher self, the goddess or the god in you, does it feel worthy and deserving of creating a different scenario? Does it feel worthy of and deserving? Does it know? Do you know? Does your highest self know, the highest version of you know, that this is for not only your good, but for the good of the collective and everyone, your friends, your family, everyone? Maybe you're scared and a little boy or girl doesn't know this, and that's okay. But if you empower a different identity to run the show, if you empower your present moment self that knows you are absolutely worthy and deserving of all of this, then you have a chance at shifting what you are a vibrational match to. One of abundance, one of luxury, one of wealth, one of being completely healed and integrated, one of being whole and complete and knowing your wholeness. It is when you choose a new identity, when you choose the higher self, when you choose the present moment version versus the scared inner little boy or girl that you locked in the closet because you don't want to face that scarcity and that lack. That is when things shift and change. And when you start taking action from the empowered identity, the queen, the goddess, the empress, the higher self, that is when things change. So in this moment, if you had the choice to act from your inner goddess, queen, highest self, what would that part of you choose? What would that part of you do? I promise you, it would not be to not take any action. It would be to move in the direction of your goals and desires. And she would help you find a way to do that. So who are you being? Who are you coming from? Are you staying in lack and scarcity because you don't know how to relate to your little inner boy or girl and help them give up the control and the responsibility and hand that over to the inner queen, goddess, higher self? Well, if that's where you're at, I'm happy to help you. I just made a brand new money resource that we are giving everyone that, saying, oh, well, this program sounds awesome, but I don't have the money. Bullshit. Yes, you do. You don't have the money until you do. Of course you have the money. This is an infinite universe with infinite money, infinite abundance. They're literally printing trillions of dollars every single day, week, whatever. They're just literally making money. If the government can just make more money and print it out on a piece of paper, I promise you, you can have some of it. Okay. There's no backing for any of this. Inflation is through the roof right now. Okay, I promise you, you can create more of it for yourself to do too. If the government can do it, you can do it. All right, so if you would like that money resource, the only way you're going to get it is if you get on our email list and reply to any email with the word money. This is not an opt-in. This is only for our current subscribers on our email list. And why is it important to be on our email list? Well, it's important because of the censorship going on. I just lost my LinkedIn account, y'all. I lost my LinkedIn account last week because they said that I created a false identity, even though I've gone by Tilly Storm for 2 years. It's the name of my website, and it's the name of all of my other social media channels. So it's not even just Facebook anymore. It's everything. The censorship is out of control. It is only getting worse. It's only going to continue to get worse before it gets better. And the only way that I can ensure that we can stay in touch is via email, because it's the safest way so far. But you do have to understand that a lot of our emails end up in spam or promotions folders. So if you think you're already on our email list, you've already signed up for something, one of our free resources, and you never saw it in your inbox, I promise you it is because it is sitting in your spam or promotions folder. So please go check those for anything from Tilly Storm. It will be in there, I guarantee you. We have all sorts of free resources. If you check out our Sacred Sexuality or Tantric Sex Starter Kit, I highly, highly suggest you checking that out to do with a partner. So that is for couples only. If you're single, you're happy to, I'm happy for you to download the resource, but the practices I give you are for a partner. And if you would like to learn how to start a Jade Egg practice, you can download our Jade Egg e-guide. And we also have our Ignite Your Desire e-guide and the How to Release Shame and Guilt training. So once you get on our email list, you download any of our stuff, just hit reply to any of the emails with the word money, and I will send you our brand new money resource. It is all about healing your inner child's money story, about creating a new identity to come from your empowered identity, and to up-level your money consciousness in a super amazing and high vibe way. So check it out and be sure to email me with the word money and I'll shoot you over the resource, my loves. Here's to up-leveling your money consciousness and knowing that you are worthy of investing in yourself. Don't forget, we have the initiation retreat coming up in January 2022. If you're interested in the retreat, head over to the pleasure assessment, take the pleasure assessment at the website tillystorm.com. Book a call with our pleasure assessment queen, Jennifer, and you and her will be able to discuss what's going on in your relationship and sex life and help you determine which program or offering that we have is a good fit for you, and if the retreat is something that you're looking to get more information on, then you'll have to book a call to speak with Jennifer about that as well. All right, my loves, see you all next week.